Christ. From the earliest years of our religion, it has been the custom that Christians gather on this night, the night of Holy Saturday, to keep vigil, awaiting our Lord's resurrection shortly after midnight. We know from the Gospels that when the holy women went to the tomb on Easter morning, they found it already empty. Christ had already risen. St. Mark says simply, he rose early on the first day of the week. Early on the third day, Sunday, as he had predicted, the Son of God reunited his soul and body and quietly but victoriously left the tomb, with a stone still there sealing it. Only the angels saw this amazing event, which was to change the world. The hearts of men were sleeping in unbelief. Why did our Lord choose to rise at night rather than during the day? Why did he not wait until the women had come to the tomb and then show them the miracle, the definitive sign of his divinity? For it is one thing to raise another man from death to life, as he did 3 times, but it is quite another to resurrect oneself from the dead. So why did our Lord rise at night soon after the 3rd day had begun? The first reason for this is to satisfy divine justice. Christ had taught the crowds, he had spoken as no man had ever done so. He had cast out demons and worked miracles, such that if they were all recorded, St. John says, the world itself could not contain the books that would be written. And yet most had not believed in him. And even among those who did believe, very few were found at the foot of his cross. And so it is that the world was not worthy to witness his resurrection. We know that the Lord had already refused to come down from the cross when he was taunted so cruelly. He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him. For if our Lord had descended then to show his might and the truth of his words, they may have believed, but the immense gravity of human sin would not have been manifested, and salvation would have been taken lightly. And also, all the more, his resurrection. It was just and right that it be hidden on this night from human eyes. The second reason why the Lord rose at night is to elicit faith from those who do love him. Only the angels saw the moment of Christ's resurrection, gazing on with awe as the Lord trampled down death and brought new life to this world. They were to be the ones who told the holy women what had happened when they came to anoint the Lord's body. The women then told the apostles, and thus divine faith was passed on from the angels who were eyewitnesses, to the women whose love had merited such a gift, to the men who were to preach this glory to the world. But in the case of both Magdalene and her companions and Peter and the apostles, faith was required of them. Although they would see the Lord in due time, he expected them to believe the angels. And this is why St. Mark tells us that Jesus upbraided them for their incredulity and hardness of heart, because they did not believe them who had seen him after he was risen again. As St. Augustine says, our greatest wound as a race is unbelief. For it is only faith that can heal us. And if we remain unbelieving, then we remain also in sin and in death. And so it was to be that every man, woman, and child must profess their belief in the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, even though they had never seen it. Because faith heals our pride. It forces us to submit to the wisdom of God. The final reason why the Lord chose to rise at night is to increase our hope of salvation. In the beginning, mankind was created in light, but through his sin he descended into darkness, a darkness that became so profound that he was once created out of nothing, was progressing steadily back towards that nothingness. Christ rose at night to show that by his passion this was to be reversed. Man, though darkness in sin, would become light again, more and more through divine grace, until in the resurrection of the dead he would come to shine like the stars in heaven. By rising on this night, the Lord leads us from the darkness of this world to the light of eternity. Just as on that first night the darkness seemed overwhelming, but in fact was diminishing, so the darkness of angelic and human sin now, though it seems staggering, is in fact waning and will soon give way to the dawn of Christ's coming. It is not that we have merited as a race such a remarkable reversal, but it is that our Lord has merited it. By his sufferings he has merited that his enemies should be placed under his feet forever, and that those who have stood by him and honored his name in this world will reign with him in that world always. One of the most marvelous images of our Lord's resurrection comes from St. Gregory the Great, who commented at length on the book of Job. Near the end of that book, when God is rebuking Job for his complaints against divine providence, God asks him, "Can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook? Can you," God is saying, "do what I do? Can you govern the whole world, including not only the beasts of the field and the forests, but even the creatures of the deep? But even more, can you govern the angels?" For Leviathan is a biblical name for the devil, who is depicted as living in the deepest abyss of the sea, influencing always the bitterness and the danger of the ocean, which is an image of this world. The Lord drew the devil out of his stronghold by baiting him. He became man and placed his humanity on the hook of his divinity. The devil came forth from his lair and sprang out of the sea to bite the bait. But then he found that instead of enjoying the morsel, he had been impaled by the hook underneath, pierced through such that although he would continue to flail until the end of the world, he was finished. St. Gregory says, because he dared to crave the death of the immortal one, over whom he had no claim, he lost us mortal men, whom he rightly held because of sin. This truth also plays out in our own lives. The devil is sure to bite us. He has limited time, and so now he is chomping on believers more than ever. But what will he find when he bites us? Will he find a mere man, or by the grace of baptism, which we have renewed tonight by our promises, and which we struggle every day to protect that grace, will he find instead another Christ? When the devil bites on those who do not believe, on those who belong to this world, he devours them. He expects to eat a man, and that is what he finds. There is no hook of divinity to slay him there. But in those with divine faith, who believe in our Lord's resurrection, and who strive every day to assimilate his grace more and more in their souls, when the devil bites them, he gets a nasty surprise. I thought this was a man, he says, but there is something divine in this one. That one who conquered me so many years ago lives in this one also. And it is not long before he too will vanquish me and triumph over me. So although this world grows darker and seems to envelop us in its abyss, it is also flailing in its death throes. We are called only to protect the divine spark that is in us, his holy grace, to glorify the Lord always in his resurrection, and to wait patiently but surely on our own. It is the day of resurrection, therefore, let us be enlightened by it. The Passover is the Lord's Passover, since Christ our God has brought us from death to life and from earth to heaven. And therefore let us sing a hymn of victory. Although thou went down to the grave, immortal Lord, you destroyed the power of Hades and rose victorious. You who said, "Rejoice," to the myrrh-bearing women, give peace to your apostles, and offer resurrection to those of us who have fallen. Tonight all things are filled with light, earth and heaven and the world beneath. And so let all creation celebrate the resurrection of Christ our God. Let God arise, let his enemies be scattered. Let those who hate him flee before his face. Christ is risen from the dead, trampling down death by death, and upon those in the tombs bestowing life. This is the day which the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.